I never thought I'd be afraid of the wilderness. I grew up camping, hiking, and exploring the forests near my childhood home. There was something so peaceful about being surrounded by nothing but trees, hearing nothing but the sounds of birds and insects. As an adult, when I learned of a job opening for a fire lookout in a remote forest, I jumped at the opportunity. Getting paid to live in nature, alone in a tower, keeping watch for fires, it was a dream come true. The first week was paradise. The view from my tower was breathtaking, lush green forest and rolling mountains as far as the eye could see. I quickly fell into a routine of wandering the woods by day, watching for smoke and noting wildlife activity. By night, I'd curl up with a book and a warm drink, falling asleep to the gentle hoots of owls. Over the next few days, I continued experiencing intense periods of fear and paranoia while doing my exterior checks. In broad daylight, the woods were peaceful, even joyful, but at night, it was as if the forest transformed into something sinister. More than once, I thought I saw shapes darting behind trees or shadows that moved without logical cause. Still, I told myself it was all in my head, tricks of the light or simply exhaustion catching up with me. By the third week, I started noticing unusual patterns. Personal items I knew I left on my desk would be moved. Strange knocking sounds woke me up in the dead of night. One evening, when I came back to the tower after checking the perimeter, the front door was open. I knew I had locked it. Heart pounding, I searched every inch of the small cabin space. Nothing seemed disturbed. For the first time, I truly didn't feel alone. The bizarre activity only increased over the coming days. I'd hear heavy footsteps crunching leaves, circling the tower. I started finding things that didn't belong to me outside. Ripped clothing, bloodied bandages, teeth. It all seemed like some kind of sick prank, but no one else was up here. By the 5th week on the job, I was thoroughly spooked. I barely slept anymore, straining my ears all night to identify what kinds of creepy sounds echoed through the darkness. More than once, I screamed myself hoarse, convinced someone or something was at the tower door. In a desperate attempt to feel normal, I decided to take a hike one sunny afternoon. Being back on the trail was soothing, the first sense of peace I'd had in a while. Then I stumbled on the deer carcass. I heard twigs snap nearby and got scared. I shouted, "Who's there?" but stopped when I saw a pale, bloody face with black eyes staring at me from behind a bush. It slowly disappeared into the shadows. I raced in blind terror down the mountain, heart threatening to explode from my chest. I didn't stop running until I collapsed back inside the tower, slamming and locking the door behind me. Darkness fell as I sat slumped with my back against the entrance, rifle clutched in shaking hands. The night brought noises that made my skin crawl. Scratches at the window, a voice screaming, growls echoing. With tears streaming down my face, I squeezed the rifle trigger a few times at the sounds. At some point, exhaustion took me as I finally passed out. When I awoke just before dawn, I packed my bags quickly. I left a scribbled resignation note and set off to hike out of there. The hours dragged on as I descended the winding trail. The deeper I went into the forest, the darker it became, like unnatural nighttime. I hurried faster, nervous I wouldn't make it out by nightfall. A prickling on the back of my neck had me pause. Slowly I turned, fearing what I might see. An impossibly tall and skinny creature peered around a tree, flesh pale and glistening. As we locked eyes, I gasped at its grotesque smile, filled with rows of razor teeth. My screams sent birds exploding from branches as I ran for my life. The monster pursuing with impossible speed no human could match. I sobbed in desperation, knowing I couldn't outrun it. As I felt rancid breath on my neck, an explosion rang out. The creature shrieked behind me. I turned to see it writhing on the ground, ichor oozing from a missing limb. A nearby voice yelled to get down just as another ear-splitting blast went off. The thing let out an unearthly wail before scuttling off into the trees, leaving a slime trail in its wake. A forest ranger emerged onto the path, winded but triumphant, an enormous rifle in his steady hands. Shocked, I could only stare open-mouthed. He smiled and patted my shoulder. "Let's get you out of here." We hiked the last few miles in silence. My trembling slowed as the trees opened to reveal a parking area bathed in warm sunlight. Taking my pack, the ranger gave me a grim nod before heading off into the forest without another word. I sank to my knees, overcome with relief. As I turned to glance back at the tree line one last time, I could still see shadows darting between the darkened trunks. I shivered and made for my car, pangs of fear still pulsing through me. I swore to myself then and there, no one would ever see me in a forest again, at least not alone.